Hey guys, welcome to Chapter 1, Lesson 6. Today we're going to be talking about a problem-solving strategy called the 4-step plan. So oftentimes when kids read word problems, they tend to think to themselves, oh, well, I should just read it quickly and pick out the numbers and either add, subtract, multiply, divide them and be done, right? And so using this strategy will help your brain to slow down, and it will help you to make sure that you're getting the right answer and not just getting an answer. So let's look at the problem-solving strategy, the different steps. First step is to understand. What facts do you know? What do you need to find? So you should answer those 2 questions to help make sure you understand. Second step is to make a plan. How are you going to solve this problem? Then we're going to solve. So that's where you're going to show your work. Make sure that you're being careful. And then lastly, this is most important. Okay, they're all very important, but this step is important that kids often forget. They oftentimes write an answer down and say, okay, I'm done. And they forget to ask themselves, does my answer make sense? And so sometimes you'll go back to the problem and you'll try to read it again, make sure that you did things carefully. And sometimes you'll do maybe the inverse operation. So if you did 5 plus 3 is 8, you could say, yeah, it makes sense because I know that 8 minus 5 gets me to 3. So it does make sense. So that's the last step, is to check to see if it makes sense. So let's do some practice problems. All right, here we go. So Dinah's family went to a zoo on their vacation. They learned that a road runner is 1 foot tall. An African elephant is 12 feet tall. How much taller is an African elephant than a roadrunner? So our first step is to understand. So let's fill in these facts. The roadrunner is how tall? Let's go up here. A roadrunner is 1 foot tall. 1 foot tall. The African elephant is blank feet tall. So let's take a peek here. Our African elephant is 12 feet tall. Okay? So now we filled out what facts do we know. Now we need to ask ourselves, okay, now I know the facts. I need to know, what should I try to find? We want to know how much taller an African elephant is than a road runner. Okay, so our plan is we are going to subtract the road runner's height from the African elephant's height, right? We wouldn't add 12 plus 1 to see how much taller the elephant is. We know we need to subtract 12 minus 1. All right, so now I'm at the solving portion where I'm going to subtract 12 minus 1 is 11, right? So the elephant is 11 feet taller than the road runner. Does this answer make sense? I could say yes. It does make sense because 11 plus 1 is 12. So if I take what the difference was and I add the roadrunner's height to it, I get the elephant's height. Let's try another problem here. I cut this one into 2 pieces so that my writing wouldn't have to be teeny tiny. So I'm just going to continue it on the next slide on mine, but yours will all be on 1 page. So Alex wants to buy a train ticket to his grandfather's house. A one-way ticket costs $43. So let's say here's my house and I'm going to go to grandfather's house. Okay, so what facts do I know? A one-way is $43. So what that means, a one-way would just be going there. A round trip would be going there and coming back. So it doesn't have to all be at once, right? I could go there, spend a couple of days, and then I would don't have to pay again to come back. So then we would write down a round trip is $79. So they want to know, would it be better to buy 2 one-way tickets, right? Because a one-way ticket, one gets you there, one gets you back. Or is it better to just buy a round trip? So what do I need to find more? Or find which option is less expensive? is what we're looking for. So what plan am I going to take? I think that we should take, find out how much 2 one-way tickets cost. And then after we find out how much 2 one-way tickets cost, we can compare it, see if it's greater than or less than the $79 for a round trip. Okay, so now we're going to solve. So I'm going to see how much 2 one-way tickets cost. So I'm going to take 43 and add it to 43. 3 plus 3 is 6. 4 plus 4 is 8. So 2 one-way tickets equals $86. 1 round trip equals $79, which is less expensive. 1 round trip is less expensive, right? So does our answer make sense? Yes. How come? We found out how much 2 one-way tickets would cost. And if you really feel overzealous, you could write, and it costs less to do 1 round trip. Let's try another one. Now this one is in the homework, so if you feel like Mrs. Hamer, I understand the 4-step plan, go ahead and do your assignment. If you say, Mrs. Hamer, I'd like some more help, let's do some more. Victoria buys 2 pairs of sunglasses for $8 each. So one of my favorite strategies is drawing pictures. So we know that this pair is $8 and this pair is $8. About how much did she pay for both pairs of glasses? Round to the nearest 10. Solve the problem using the 4-step plan. So the first step is what do we know? We know that there are 2 pairs of glasses and they each cost, I'm going to write that as the second step, $8 each. Okay, we need to round to the tens place to see. Then the second part is what's the question? So the question is, how much did she pay? And this is not correct because I need to round. So I'm going to put in parentheses, I need to round. So let's just say about how much did she pay. Step 2, I'm going to say that this should go down to step 2. My plan, I'm round to the tens. Step 3, I need to solve. So $8 rounded to the nearest 10. I think a number line is probably easiest. So I have 10 and I have 0. So if I look, and then 5 would be in the middle. And if I look at where would 8 be? 6, 7, 8, 9, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. 8 would be right here. So is 8, if I'm counting, I'm rounding to the nearest 10. That means I would be counting by 10. So 8's either going to round down to 0, 0 tens, or 10, 1 10. Right? So we can notice by looking here, it's going to round up to 10. So now I need to solve. So each pair of glasses is about $10. So if they're each about $10, I just need to do 10 plus 10 to get 20. So the glasses cost about $20 is going to be her for both pairs, right? So now my 4th step, which I ran out of room, so I'm going to scooch this all up, is does it make sense? I'm going to say yes. We rounded each pair to $20 or $10. If we bought 2 pairs, then they would cost $20. Check. We're good to go. Let's do another one. Ridgeway Elementary School collected 8,531 cans of food. Park Elementary School, so Ridgeway collected that much. Park Elementary School collected 8,642 cans. Which school collected more cans of food? Write the greater number of cans in, wow, there's a lot of steps here, in expanded form. So the first thing is, what do we need? What do we know? So we know Ridgeway. And I'm going to write it in numbers instead of word form because we don't really work with numbers in word form. We just work with them in standard form. So 8,531 cans. Park collected 8,642 cans. Okay, what's the final question? Who collected more? And then I need to write the final in greater expanded form. Step 2, what's my plan? Use a place value chart. Okay, so I have ones up here. I'm doing step 3, solve it. Ones, tens, hundreds, thousands. Okay. So, here we go. So I have 8,531 versus 8,642. Okay, so if we compare the thousands place, we notice they're both 8. Then we go over to the hundreds place. I have got a 6 and a 5. So I know that the greatest is 8,642, which is Park. Okay, so which school collected more cans? Park Elementary School collected more cans. And then it says I have to write that value in expanded form. So I'm going to write it right next to it. So I'm going to kind of write it right here. 8,000 plus 600 plus 40 plus 2. 8,000 plus 600 plus 40 plus 2. Okay, so I checked off both the answers, but now I need to check my answers. Does it make sense? Yes, because I used a place value chart. To compare the two numbers. All right, we used place value chart, compare the two numbers. We're good to go. Let's try another one. Make a plan. There are 398 students at Rebecca's school, 468 students at Haley's school. Okay, there are 10 more students at Ronnie's school than there are at Rebecca's school. Order the number of students at each school from least to greatest. So let's figure this out first. So Rebecca is 398. Haley is 462. And then we know that Ron, I'm calling him Ron for short, is Rebecca, which is 398. So I'm just going to write that in. Ronnie is 398 plus 10. Okay, so this is what we know. This is our step 1. What do we know? What do we need to find? Order schools from least to greatest. Okay. Step 2, plan. We're going to line up the place values to compare. Okay, step 3, let's do it. So I have 398, and then I have 462. Now I need to find out what is this. 398 plus 10. 8 plus 0 is 8. 9 plus 1 is 10, so I need to regroup. I have 10 tens, which makes 100, right? So I have to give the hundreds place 1. And then I have to do 1 plus 3 is 4. So that means the last one has 408 students. And that would be Ronnie. So Ronnie is 408. So look at that. That kind of worked out well. All right, so now let's compare. We want to order from least to greatest. Okay, so if I'm looking at the hundreds, I notice this one has 300. These both have 4. So 398 is going to be the least. And notice it doesn't say order the people from each school. Don't order Rebecca, Haley, Ronnie. It says order the number of students. So I'm just going to be writing down the numbers. I don't really necessarily care who belongs to which school. Okay, then I'm going to cross off 398. Now I'm going to compare between 462 and 408. So I have to go to the tens place. I've got a 6 and a 0. So I know 6 is bigger than 0. I'm going from least to greatest. So I do need to write the 0 next. So that would be 408. And then the greatest is going to be 462. It's going to be the greatest. So there's our answer. I'm going to put a box around it because I did all this work. And there's my answer. Now my eyes are drawn to it. And then lastly, does my answer make sense? Yes, it does, because I lined up the place values. I lined them up and I compared. I could write to compare. But there we go. 2 more problems. Number 4, brain builder. Justify conclusions. The table shows the points each player scored in a video game. Jamal's score is between the scores of Josh and Jake. Give one possible score for Jamal. Okay, so if I know Josh and Jake, I have their scores here. So I need to make one between it. I noticed that Jake's is larger than Josh's because I compared them. They both have the same number in the thousands, different number in the hundreds. Okay, so I need to be bigger than Josh and less than Jake. So down here where it says, how did you decide on Jamal's score? I'm going to write that down for part of my evidence. So Jamal's score needs to be greater than 2,365 and less than 2,475. So then I'm going to say Jamal's score could have been, let's do 2,400. Right, you could pick any number between those two. I could have done 2,366. Could have been 2,367, 2,399, 2,474, right? Could have been any number between those two. So I just picked 2,400 points. And that's what I'm going to go with. And then why I did it? Because it needs to be greater than and less than the 2 kids that are there. So there we go. And last question. Half the distance from Los Angeles, California to New York is 1,391 miles. What is the distance between the 2 cities? Rounded to the nearest 100 miles. Now, it is not just asking us to round this to the nearest 100 miles. It's also telling us that that's only half the distance. We want to know what is the whole distance. So, let's first write down, what do we know? First step, we know half distance is 1,391. Okay, what do we need to know? What is the distance? Right? That's what the question is asking. What is the distance? So if the half distance is 1,391, what is the distance? Step 2, our plan is we are going to round to the nearest 100. Then double. Okay. Step 3, let's do that. 1,391. So I'm going to circle the hundreds place, underline the tens place. That 9 tells me I need to add 1. So my rounded number is going to be 1,400. So now, after I rounded it, so now I need to double that. 1,400 plus 1,400. So 0 plus 0 is 0. 0 plus 0 is 0. 4 plus 4 is 8. 1 plus 1 is 2. So the distance is about 2,800 miles. Okay, step 4, check. Does my answer make sense? Yes, it does. And I'm going to do this, a different example than I've been doing, because I know that 14 plus 14 is 28. So therefore, 1,400, or some people would say 1,400, plus 1,400, that equaling 2,800 or 2,800 makes sense, right? So we kind of made, it's just that we're adding 2 zeros. Look at this here. Boom, boom, boom. And we're not adding 2 zeros. Don't let me fill your brain with that. We're multiplying them both by 100, but we're not quite there yet. But that's really what's happening. We're multiplying all numbers by 100. So that's why it works out. So that's all I have for you today. Thanks for watching to the very end. You're awesome. You're great. Keep up the hard work. And if you have any questions, let me know. See ya.